Hello everyone. Today we are going to talk about buyback of shares. It's a very interesting topic for the investors to know that whenever a company comes for buyback, so whether buyback should be accepted or not. So before we start, let us understand very carefully what does buyback mean. So whenever company says I'm going to buy back the share, what exactly it means, whether whether it is in the favor of the stakeholder or not, whether it is beneficial for the company or not, what is the reason why company is planning for the buyback. So buyback, as the name indicates, buyback by the company, which means where company is going to buy the shares back from its stakeholder. Like whenever you deal with the shares, like you have invested money in a company which is a listed company, big company. So whenever you want to buy the shares and whenever you want to sell the shares, so we generally as investor we do on a stock exchange. Like we know we have our demat account and we have our trading account with various depository participants. So what do? We just buy and sell the shares in the open market, so that we can easily control our holdings. But when it comes buyback from the company, which means where company is giving an offer to its shareholders, ki company is going to buy back shares from you. So instead of selling your shares in the open market, so you have the offer, you can sell it to the company. So as the name indicates, it's a buyback. That means company is going to buy back its share from its stakeholders. But why buyback? What is the reason for buyback? Why you want, if you want to go for the buyback, why you want to sell the shares to the company? Can't we sell our shares in the open market? Can't we do it through stock exchange? Why should we go to the company, or why the company should come to us? Why the company should offer us, and at what price the company should come to us? Like if I am holding shares of, let's say, X Limited in a company, X Limited, let's say I'm holding 1,000 shares, and which has a market value of, as of now, as per the stock exchange, which has a market value of 1,000 per share. So now I need to calculate that if I want to sell my equity, if I want to sell my shares in the open market, so I will get 1,000 per share. In the meantime, the company comes up with an offer with every shareholders. If you want to sell your shares, the better option, company is coming up with a buyback. Better company, whether if you want to sell your shares, it's better sell it to the company. So now as investor, what I need to calculate is whether I should sell it in the open market at the rate of 1,000 per share, or whether I sell my shares to the company. At that time, as an investor, what should I do? Whether I should sell my shares to the company, whether I should sell my shares in the open market. I need to calculate my benefit. I need to check what is the benefit of the company, why company is offering me buyback, what is the hidden agenda, what is the purpose, the why company is going for buyback, what will I get out of it, and whether I can sell my whole shares. Let's say, as I said, I'm holding 1,000 shares in the company. So should I sell my 1,000 shares to the company, or should I sell my 1,000 shares through the in the open market, or is there any limit, or is there any restriction by which I can sell my shares? Like I can sell my 1,000 shares, I can sell my 50% shares, or I can sell my 25% shares. So is there any limit for selling the shares to the company? Because I'm sure we know it very well. If I'm selling it in the open market, so better is if I'm having 1,000 shares, I can sell my 1,000 shares within a second. If I want to buy shares, I can do it within a second. But when it comes to the buyback, can I do so as an investor? Can I do so or not? What's the difference if I'll be selling it through the stock exchange in the open market, and if it's selling my shares to the company under the buyback route? What is the difference in that? So that everything as an investor, whenever you have to take a decision, whenever you have to choose how to dilute your shares, how to sell your shares. So as an investor, it is very important for us to know whether to go for for selling the shares in the market, or to go for the buyback if company comes up with an offer. But the main difference is this: buyback is not an option which you will have to give it to the company. Buyback will only come to you whenever the company will come up with a buyback option. Otherwise, no. It's not that I want to sell my shares. As I said, let's say I'm having 1,000 shares of X Limited. I want to sell my equity, right? So it's not possible that I will go to the company and I will request the company to come with a buyback offer or issue me the offer letter and come with a buyback proposal to me so that I can sell my shares to you. That is not allowed. That is not possible. Buyback will come only at the time when company will come to you on its own. When company will come with a proper plan, company will come with a proper offer with the proper provisions, the company will come to you, will approach all the shareholders ki yes, company is coming for the buyback. Any shareholder who wants to sell its shares, right, can sell it to the company rather than in the open market. But undoubtedly, without saying, I should say, definitely you will sell it to the company only if there is a good price and there is a price which is more than the market price. As I said, the listed price of my share is, let's say, 1,000 rupees. So that comes to, if I'm saying I want to sell my whole equity shares, that I am having 1,000 shares of market value of 1,000 rupees, that comes to rupees 10 lakhs. And let's say if company is coming with a buyback offer and saying, okay, we are going to buy back your shares, which will be at the price of 800. So definitely anyone can calculate easily that I will not go for the buyback, because better I would sell my shares. I would love to sell my shares in the open market rather than to sell it to the company, because company is coming with a lower price than the market price. So these are the few calculations, few points that has to be taken care by the investor before you choose for the buyback. Whether buyback or better to go for the open market if I want to dilute my equity, if I want to sell my shares. Buyback. So as I said, buyback means what? It's an act of buying something from the same person. Now, why we call it the same person? Same person, that means what? The company has issued shares to the investor and the company is going to buy from the investor only. Right? So when company has issued shares to the investor and company is going to buy from the same investor. Same investor does not mean like to whom the company issued share only, the company will go for the buyback from that shareholder only. No, it does not mean. That means investor. So, investor is a term, that person who has directly invested money in a company under the route of various, like, maybe in the public issue or right issue, or that's an investor who has directly invested in a company. The person who has purchased share from the stock market in a secondary market from the other shareholders, he's also an investor, right? So the company has issued share to the investor. Now company is going to buy back from the same person, matlab from the investor. So this is what we call buyback. So buyback, that means something from the same person you sold it to. It's a general definition, because we never say the company has sold shares, right? As an investor, you should also know one thing: company never sells its shares. Company always issues its shares. But just to make you understand the definition of buyback, so we are going to buy something which we sold it to you. So it's in layman's language, the general meaning of buyback is to buy something which already sold to you. In the similar way, buyback means where you are going to buy back the shares which company issued earlier to the investor, especially an offer by the company to buy shares from its own shareholders or investor. So this is the meaning of buyback, which I explained earlier. So company may. First of all, it is not mandatory for a company to go for buyback. Not at all. That's why I said you can't ask the company, you can't go to the company and say, I want my shares to be bought back by you, so you please come up with an offer for buyback. Not possible. It is up to the company. If company wants to come for buyback, company will come up with the buyback offer. If company does not want, company will not come up for the buyback offer. There may be a possibility, my company, let's say, if I was given an example, there is an X Limited, and let's say X Limited is a company which is, let's say, 20 years old company, right? 20 years old company, and that company has not come up with a buyback offer till date. So there may be a possibility. So first of all, as an investor, you should also know that buyback is an option which company will give it to the shareholders, number one. Number two, buyback is not at all mandatory for the company to come up. Buyback is not mandatory. That's why we have mentioned here the company may opt for buyback. The company may opt for buyback if the company has extra money, extra liquidity, extra cash, and company has no future plan for investment. That's why the company may come up for the buyback. So may means it's not optional, it's not mandatory, it is absolutely optional. It can be looked as a means, giving reward to the shareholders. Giving reward other than offering timely dividends. So now see what happens is, let's say my company came up with a public issue 1 or 2 years back, and all of you are my investors, all of you are the investors, shareholders of my company, who have invested crores of rupees in my company on the face value of the promoters, on the face value of the company, on the future growth of the company. So whatever the plans you had in your mind, you invested in my company. Now it's going to be 2 years. So my company has not declared dividend. My company has not come up with any other offer to the shareholders, because company is not doing well as of now. So now slowly what happens is the morale or the confidence of the investor that goes down. Obviously, let's say if you have invested money in a company and it's been 2 years, you are not getting anything from the company, no dividend, no reward, nothing is there. So what happens is your morale will definitely go down. Your confidence will definitely go down. And it will have a great impact on you if the market value is also going down. Let's say you invested shares in a company. At that time, the price of the company, when the company issued shares to you, the price was, let's say, 90 rupees per share. After 2 years, it is 60 rupees per share, or let's say it's 50 rupees per share. Depending upon the certain parameters, the market value is going down. So as an investor, just think about yourself, just think about me. Like if I'm an investor, definitely I will not be happy to see that my investment is going down. At that time, I will never invest in the company again. I will rather prefer maybe to sell my shares of that company at a lower price, having a losses, than try and invest in some other company so that I can have profit in that company as well, so that I can recover my losses from that company. So I have I can plan a lot of things. But in the meantime, what company plans, we know the morale of the confidence of the investor is going down, market value is going down, confidence is very low. So if in future the company would be needing more money for its business, so no investor will invest in the company, because they are already unhappy. They are not happy with their existing investment in the company. So what company can plan at that time, just to boost up their confidence, just to show them directly, we are with you at this stage. We are still with you at this stage. So company may come up with a buyback offer. We will say, okay, don't worry, my dear shareholders, if market value is going down, if you invested at a certain price, now today market value is low, so I'm coming up with a buyback offer where if you wish, you can sell your shares to me. To me, that means to the company. So where company will come up with a buyback offer, at that time, maybe possibility company will offer you the price which is more than the current market price. But obviously, only then you will accept the offer of the company. If market price is at 40 rupees as of now, or 50, and company saying I'm coming with a buyback of 30 rupees or maybe the same price, so obviously that may not be acceptable to you as an investor, even not to me. So at that time, company will say, okay, don't worry, I'm with you. I'm coming up with an offer. I'm coming with an offer of buying back your shares, let's say at 60 rupees or 70 rupees. That may give certain relaxation to the investor. So the confidence will be high. So they will have trust. They will build the trust on the company. Yes, at this situation where we are facing a lot of challenges in the market, where the market value has gone down, the company has supported us. So we can say it's just giving a reward to the shareholders, where company is not declaring dividend, or there is no other mean the company is giving benefits to the shareholder. So this is one, it can be looked up in that way, where company is giving an offer for buyback, so where you can sell your shares. But again, make sure it is an offer. Buyback is not mandatory from company's point of view, even from shareholders' point of view. if company is coming with a buyback offer, if as an investor, if you still love the company, if you still feel that share, the market price will go up, I don't want to dilute my equity, I don't want to sell my shares. So it is absolutely up to you. There is no restriction. There is no, that does not mean the company has come up with a buyback offer and you will have to accept it. No, there is no provision. Right? Buyback, also known as share repurchase, that means where company buys its own outstanding shares to reduce the number of shares available in the open market. Company buyback shares for number of reasons. I was saying, like, what can be the reasons? So the one reason I told you, maybe to reward the shareholders. There can be a number of reasons where company may opt for the buyback. There can be number of reasons. Number one, to increase the value of remaining shares available. Like, for example, generally we say to increase the EPS in the hands of the shareholders, like what we call it's earning per share. Like, for a simple example, let's say my total earning of the company, let's say 10 lakhs. I'll just give you a very simple example to make you understand. Today, company's total earning is, which is calculated obviously as per the law, let's say it's 10 lakhs, right? And total number of shares the company has, it's, let's say, maybe we would say 1 lakh. So now I'm saying that the total capital of the total earning of the company is 10 lakhs and the number of shares the company has, which is 1 lakh. So easily how we can calculate the EPS is that EPS, the earning divided by the number of shares, that is your EPS, earning per share in the hands of the shareholders. Now, whenever company will buy back, company comes for the buyback, obviously buyback means when company is going to buy back its share from the shareholders, the number of shares will come down. Let's say if out of 1 lakh shares, if company has bought back its shares, let's say for maybe 20,000. Let's say 1 lakh shares are there. Now remaining shares would be 80,000. So accordingly, when you will calculate the EPS, now earlier we were doing the 10 lakhs is total earning of the company divided by the number of shares which company has 1 lakh, which is 10 rupees. Now what company is doing, 10 lakhs earning and divided by the number of shares, which is 80,000. So that comes to 12 rupees or something like that. So you can calculate. So it will increase the earning per share, or what we say it's an EPS. It will increase the earning per share in the hands of shareholder. So this is one of the reason why company goes for buyback, just to keep the morale high, just to keep the confidence high in the investor. Can now see the EPS has been increased in my hands. Earlier the EPS was 10 rupees, now EPS is 12 or 13 rupees, so whatever the case may be. So now that's a psychological impact on the investor. So look at from investor point of view. Now investor is looking at this earning per share that has been increased. The earning per share that has been increased. Second, why company goes for buyback? Again, generally there may be a possibility. Few companies they may do or they may not. Buyback, though, in any case I've said that buyback is not at all mandatory. It's an optional for the company. Now, let's say in the open market, someone who is a big investor who is buying shares in the open market on regular basis. Let's say there's an investor who is daily buying maybe crores of value of shares, maybe lakhs of value of shares in the market. So he's increasing his holding. So there may be a possibility after a certain period of time, let's say after 6 months, after 1 year, there may be a possibility that investor who is buying shares from the open market for the last 1 year, there may be a possibility he will have the major number of shares in a company. That means he will have the good percentage in a company. So there may be there are chances that at one particular of time he will take over the company. What we call it's a hostile takeover. So there may be a possibility where promoters' shareholdings are low and the person will try to increase his shareholding by buying shares from the open market so that his holding will be increased. So there may be a possibility he will take over the company. What we call it's a hostile takeover. So basically when you talk about the takeovers, so whenever one person takes over the another company, or when a company takes over the another company, we call it, say, like there are two categories of takeover. In just brief, I'm just talking about one is a hostile takeover. That means without the wish of the company, someone is going to take over the company. Other, we say it's a friendly takeover, when with the mutual consent, when you're going to take over the company. So I'm going to take over your company with a mutual agreement, with the certain terms and condition. That is friendly takeover. But whenever going to take over a company by buying shares through the open market, so that I will have more shares in the company, so that I will have more percentage of capital in your company, so by which I am going to take over your company, that is hostile takeover. If promoters of the company, if they get any idea about it, if they feel that someone is doing that, someone is going to do that, or someone is planning to do that, what do? They come up with a buyback offer, where they offer the shareholders to sell their shares to the company, right? To sell their shares to the company, so that their holding, public holding, will decrease, and the promoters' shareholding will increase, so that they can save their company, so that they can increase their holding, so that no one would be able to take over the company. So they may be one of the reason as well. As I said, maybe to increase the earning per share in the hands of the investor. There may be a possibility that company may plan. There may be a possibility company just want to reward the existing shareholders, because company is not declaring dividend and market value is going down. If you will see in the past, number of companies, lot of companies, they have done so, where market value is going down, just to keep the morale high. A lot of companies, they have done the buyback just to keep the confidence alive in the investor. Or maybe if company wants to avoid a takeover, which is a hostile takeover sort of thing, if company wants to avoid that, in that case, the company may plan for buyback. Or maybe if company has surplus money, if company has no other way to invest money, if company has surplus money, then company can always go for the buyback. Buyback reduces the number of shares outstanding, thereby increasing the earning per share, and sometimes the value of shares. Right? As I gave an example, that's the total shares of the company we have. It's a 1 lakh shares, and out of 1 lakh, the company is going to buy back 20,000 shares. Obviously, the number of shares will come down to 80,000, and accordingly, your earning per share, EPS, will increase. If a company feels its shares are undervalued, the same thing which I was talking about. If company feels, obviously, why would company feel that my shares are undervalued? Obviously, when company will also feel that investors are not happy with the company, they are not happy with the investment they have made in a company. So whenever company feels its shares are undervalued, then it can go for buyback to provide investors with a good return, because the company is bullish on its current operations, and buyback also boost up the proportion earning that a share is allocated. Again, just because of the reason, just to increase the EPS, operations are not in control, they are not in a good condition, then company plans for buyback. Buyback can also be done because the reason for the compensation to the employees and the management with the stock option. So one part we discuss where company buys or company plans for buyback its share from the investors through stock exchange from the open market. So there may be a possibility when company plans for buyback to buy its shares from the employees, where company has issued shares to its employees under sweat equity share option, where company has issued share to its employees under sweat equity shares, or maybe under the ESOP schemes, what we call it's a employee stock option plan. So where the company has issued ESOP to the employees, where company has issued under sweat equity shares to the employees to boost up the confidence of the employee, company can go for the buyback from them only. So now, two things that which we have discussed. Number one is the company can go for the buyback from the existing investors, shareholders, that is where shares are listed on a stock exchange from the open market. Second, if company is planning for the buyback, company can also opt for a buyback to buy shares from the employees of the company to whom shares were issued by the company under stock option, employee stock option, what we call say ESOP, or maybe issued under sweat equity shares plan. So accordingly, the company can go for buyback from the employees as well. A company may resort for the buyback for a variety of reasons that we discuss: excess floating stock in the market, poor performance of share, utilization of excess cash with the company. So we have good companies which opt the third route, where company feels ki yes, we have excess money, we have excess liquidity, we don't need funds as of now, or maybe we have no investment plan in the near future. So let's do one thing. Shareholders who have invested money in a company on the trust, on the faith of the promoters of the company, so let us reward them now. So let us pay back them. So there may be a possibility that still there are good companies which feel like we should reward they do have respect for the shareholders, like we should also reward the shareholders since they have extra or maybe surplus cash. Many times company has excess cash in its balance sheet, which company wants to distribute to the shareholders. So two ways: either you can go for the dividend, or maybe you can go for the buyback. A buyback is one of the mode by which company can achieve its objects. Now, coming to the point, advantages of the buyback. What are the advantages? If company is planning for the buyback, what are the advantages to the company? Helps the promoter to formulate an effective defensive strategy. Now see, defensive strategy against hostile takeover bids. So which I was talking about, just to avoid that hostile takeover. So promoters, they want to increase their holding. So better ways to go for buyback so that their holding will increase and the shareholding of the public will come down. So you can easily avoid the hostile takeover. Surplus cash maybe distributed. Buyback are taken to increase the stake of the promoters, so which enable the promoters holding to cross 90%. So there is another possibility. Let's say if my company is a listed company, big company, where shareholders have invested a lot of money, right? So now I want to go for delisting. I want to delist my shares. So now if I go for delisting in the same way, like in the similar way, like public is a shareholder of my company, so that would be difficult for me. There are a lot of compliances to be done. So better I will start preparing myself accordingly. Like I will start buybacking shares. The company will start buyback of shares. Accordingly, the public shareholding will come down. Ultimately, the promoter shareholdings will be there. So you can easily approach the stock exchange for delisting. So if a company is planning for delisting, then another buyback is a good option, so that the investors' holding will come down and the promoter shareholding will increase. When a company buyback its shares, the outstanding share capital comes down and improves the financial evaluation, like EPS, return on equity, which I already talked about. Like EPS will increase, and accordingly